You're listening to the Warlord Radio Podcast.
Good evening. This is episode 22 of Warlord Radio, and I am Craig.
I am Carrick, and we are bald.
Yeah, but our guest isn't.
Our guest is not bald.
Yeah.
She has tons of hair.
So our guest is ZZ Top tonight.
That was terrible. We're getting worse at the intros. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
They're going, like, the rest of the show is kind of evening out and finding its voice, but these intros are god-awful.
It's a rough takeoff. It's a rough takeoff. As long as we stick the landing, that's what's important.
Our guest this week is Rache and, say hi, Rache.
Hi.
Rache is a local establishment, I suppose. We've been friends for a while. She does a lot within the music scene in Denton. She's a hell of a bass player. She's a hell of a singer. She snaps fairly on time. And she is also a bit of a conspiracy enthusiast and paranormal. Mm-hmm. What would you describe it? Yeah, because you told me one time that I don't want to like blow the lid off your shit.
I'm just very in tune.
Yeah, so you're a very sensitive person.
I'm very sensitive. I am definitely an empath.
So we are going to talk a little bit about that because that is, like, anything kind of paranormal or just esoteric in general is right. I just love that shit. I eat it up like candy.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about your experiences and stuff like that. But first off, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
We're doing very well. Yeah. We are... like you said, episode 22, just killing it.
Yeah, we're excited to have you on.
Thank you, guys.
We are. Thank you for coming out. Yeah.
So, why don't you give us a little bit of a rundown of what you're currently working on right now?
Okay. So I'm in a few bands. I got Wild Natives. We're kind of electronic, hip hop, trip hop. She has a way better. My bandmate Sarah Ledford. She can describe it way better than I can. I just say. We play instruments and we have beats. What's up? But we've been picking up, playing a lot lately.
Yeah, I've noticed that you guys have been gigging real heavy lately. Sarah kind of came back to Denton with a vengeance. Like, she went away for a little while, and then when she came back swinging, dude.
Yeah, I got a hold of her, and I was like, come on, get away from what you're doing.
So where do y'all play at?
Around here, we've been doing a lot. We've done BYOB. We're about to play Harvest House a few times. We're going to do the Thin Line Fest.
Because they're not metal, they can actually play in places.
Well, that's why I asked. It's because I'm very curious about all of the opportunities that you have to play the clubs that I almost rarely ever go into.
Yeah.
Harvest House won't even look at you if you're heavy. They're like, not at all.
No.
But you guys are very pleasing to a very wide audience.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like I said, I'm totally jealous.
We are very jealous.
So.
We talk. A main subject on this show is just like there's no fucking clubs to play in this town anymore.
I know.
Because for metal, there's like 3.
Well, I will say though that like the scene for what we and others do is still there and quite strong. Because like J&J's is killing it.
Yeah.
And then I know
you guys just played J&J's, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of house parties that are going around, although they keep getting shut down, but they're still out there.
I feel like that
lends... get started.
Yeah.
But I feel like that almost lends a certain level of credibility to your scene if you're known for throwing these concerts that get shut down by the cops all the time. Like, that gives you some street cred, right?
Right. Yeah, totally.
I feel like if the cops show up to your show, that's ultimately what rock and roll is about, no matter what style of music you're playing.
Yeah. And I was really surprised by how well it went at Backyard on Bell.
Yes.
So
they played inside. It was a metal show inside because it was
imagine
colder than shit that night.
It's so loud in there.
Yeah.
But the sound guy, do you remember that guy's name? I cannot remember.
Is it Julian or Julian?
Something like that. Real nice guy. Good sound guy.
He was an amazing sound guy. That was like the best person.
He actually managed to balance out the sound. Like, it was loud because it was metal, but it wasn't like painful. You know what I mean? So it was really nice. And then you also are a member of Radio Free Denton.
Yes.
Who has been on this show. She is one of the main trifecta contributors and main characters in about, 50 different characters or something on that. And then you have you have your own segment on the show. Will you
Yes.
tell us a little bit about your segment?
So my segment is called Interesting Factoids with Rache, and it is basically...
You gotta sing it.
Interesting Factoids with Rache.
Fuck yeah.
Interesting Factoids with Rache. I don't even know it very well, but I make them... Interesting enough, every time we go to record, I'm like, hey guys, can you sing them? Yeah, go for it. Because it's like I gotta get into it. But it's basically conspiracy theories and just crazy ghosts, phenomenon, weird things that, I've had discussed. Lizard people, Area 52, Goatman's Bridge, that was the first one we kind of did.
That's good because it's like kind of a local legend.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for anybody out there that doesn't know, give like a little quick rundown of what the mythos behind Goatman's Bridge is.
Basically, black man, black farmer, nobody liked, they hung him, he came back with a vengeance.
What was the time frame on this?
Was it
Is it 40s or 50s?
It was like 40s. I think it like varied from like 40 to 80. That's when they had this like train that actually rolled through. Everything was going through on that. Yeah, they didn't like him. There's a lot of different takes on it. Sometimes people are saying like if you go up to the bridge and you summon him, you see like half goat, half man, or a man carrying a head, or a man carrying a goat.
Metal as fuck.
Yeah,
a man carrying a goat?
Yeah,
For real?
maybe a goat head. Okay.
Goat's just hanging.
You never know. You never know.
I mean, this is Texas. You might just see a dude with a goat.
Just carrying
I
around.
carrying
would
his
think
goat.
so at
Goat.
this point.
Don't look at my goat.
Yeah, so it's interesting. You got to go up there and knock on the rails 3 times. And you got to ask for permission.
I didn't do that. I did go up to the bridge.
I'm still waiting for
and it's
somebody
beautiful
to
out
tell
there.
me.
I drank a half a bottle of whiskey and
There you go.
See, that's what I want to do. I want to like go with some people, take some beers, and like give one to the goat man and see if he'll come.
Hey,
that's nice. An offering to
pour
the
one out
spirits.
for your homie.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There you go.
So, what kind of conspiracy theories do you mainly...
Yeah, what's like the most recent one that you tackled on the show?
MK Ultra?
Nice.
See, okay, I apparently don't know jack shit about... I thought I did, and I was wrong. You know a little bit about MK Ultra, right?
Yeah.
It goes
Okay.
on forever and ever.
You guys
So
enlighten...
much
I know, it's so deep because the CIA's involved in fucking
Oh,
Preston
yeah.
Bush, and the Bushes are just fucking evil.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but if you're a conspiracy theorist at all, the Bushes are
Yes.
horrible, horrible fucking
Yes,
people.
yes.
But all politicians are. But if you guys would please enlighten me a little bit about what MK Ultra was and kind of the implications that spun off of it, because there's a lot. It goes way deep. So yeah, what's MK Ultra, fellas and fellette? I don't know what the fucking.
I like that. The left.
Well, it's your segment, please.
Okay, so basically, I think it started like around 1940s, maybe. It was, the CIA was pretty much going and using different tactics that they could to try to manipulate and break down and weaken a person. Drugs, LSD was used a lot, abuse, sexual abuse,
just any kind of
stimulation, anything they can do, starvation, anything, torture.
just anything for physical conditioning and things.
It definitely kind of, in the beginning, it basically was more so about the drugs, because they did it to people unwillingly. They did it to people that were in like hospitals and prisons, and
this is when you hear about like prisoners getting gassed or like LSD getting dropped in someone's coffee and they don't know they're on LSD.
Yeah.
And shit like that. And I've mentioned this on the show. If you take acid and you didn't know that you just took acid, you think you're going fucking crazy. So just if you think you're going fucking crazy, ask your friends if they drop
If they drop something
coffee
in your
first.
coffee. Well, there was a Operation Midnight Climax. I don't remember
That
that
is
year.
a dirty
It
name.
sounds
Awesome.
exactly like it's exactly
Yeah.
how it sounds. So they would put. How did they do? I'm not sure how they got the LSD to the people, but it was men that went to brothels. I think they did it through the vents, but they had like 2-way mirrors in the rooms and just watch. That's all the information they show about it. But
They had a bunch of like sex workers dosing their johns and stuff, and then they would just watch.
and just see what they can do. They really want to have mind control. They really
Could you
want to
imagine if they live stream that now?
Yeah.
It would be the biggest thing on the internet. That's horrible.
Now, do you ever talk about or have you yet talked about the Unabomber? Because he was actually part of MK Ultra.
How does Kaczynski fit into MK Ultra? Was he an MK Ultra kid?
Well,
Yeah, so Kaczynski's story is fascinating, and it all ties back to this MK Ultra, where he was a college student at the time, and he signed up for these government tests. And of course, they didn't tell you exactly what they were doing, and they basically fed him a fuck ton of military-grade acid, and totally blew his mind. And the thing about it is, you know, he was known as this crazy wacko that was living on like a survivalist on a little cabin out in the woods and stuff like that, and he was sending bombs to like dangerous packages, explosives and stuff like that to different people, some of whom were in the government and some of whom were just private.
Right.
But in
So
questioning,
just like random people he didn't like, he's like, fuck you.
No. Well, the thing that he did is he had these intense visions about how artificial intelligence and the development of technology was going to be the downfall of man. And the people he targeted were the people he thought were at the cutting edge of artificial intelligence. Because he was hyper worried about the things that he had seen while he was under acid. Now,
What
the
a
question
fucking hero.
the question though is he
out
right?
Skynet. I mean,
it could be.
shit's not going great as far as AI goes.
Well, that's the way they set it up. So they do all this shit to them, and then they let them go on their merry way. And then the thing is, they don't. I mean, they're still kind of weird, and they've changed, but they're normal.
They
And
basically
then they have a trigger set up.
like
for
an
them.
activation
There's some
word.
activation word or signal or something that will trigger them for the moment that they're needed.
They can be like swordfish and just
Yeah.
start chopping people in the throats and shit.
If you look up celebrities or like on air people be like hitting triggers, it's crazy miraculous. Like there's I think it's Dallas Morning News or maybe like Alan Roker. I don't know his last name.
Roker?
Oh,
Al Roker's an MK Ultra agent?
So there's a moment where they're talking, and then all of a sudden the girl's talking and something, and he's, you know, smiling, doing his thing, and she says Holy Ghost. I don't know why, but she said Holy Ghost, and he just see him like stare at the camera and just stare, and she's still talking. And then they notice that he's not moving. And then you hear him like when they're talking and kind of segueing back, like he's like, I don't know, you just said. And then you like kind of hear him say like Holy Ghost again. And it was weird.
That is
so it's like, it's
kinda
crazy.
strange. I just, because it's not beyond the realm of possibility. Like, I tend to not think this shit is outlandish. Like, I truly
normal for
believe
me.
that there's a new world order coming. I'm not part of it, and they want me dead.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people like me, and that's fine.
Oh, man.
That's just kind of how shit works. But, no, it makes sense to me because, I mean, you can condition anybody for anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And all you need to do is find the right emotional triggers and the right,
Absolutely.
what's the word I'm looking for? But, like, the words and things, like, you need the emotional trauma and then stimulus to trigger that emotional or to get them into a certain state of mind. That's not insane to me. You know what I mean? That shit happens. Like, that's how you train work dogs.
Right.
Absolutely.
And people want to say that humans are a lot smarter than dogs, but I mean, it's a pretty balanced out scale
Right.
sometimes. I mean, what we have is thumbs.
Yeah.
Suck it, dogs. But anyway, so so you're saying that online that there's
You
evidence of
there
this.
are videos, and it's just stuff that's like so crazy. Like Wendy Williams, she's just on talking about
Wendy
something.
Williams is terrifying.
She is, but she's just like, if you did not believe in that stuff and you were just like, you'd be like, that girl is on something, or like that girl is having a nervous breakdown. Like that would be the normal. But then like you're looking at it like that's not
Something
normal.
deeper
And then she like
happened
gets
there.
up. It's more so what happens after they go into these weird modes. It's like when they turn back, it's like they are shook. Like they're like, what just happened to me? Like what just went on?
So okay, so say, and I mean there were. MK Ultra was mostly a CIA
It was
effort.
It
correct?
was
Yeah.
a CIA thing, yeah.
And that was, and like I said, I believe Preston Bush, George Senior's father, was head of the CIA or involved.
No.
No, am I wrong?
So, well, it's it was Alan Dulles.
Okay.
Was the head of the CIA
Okay.
when the CIA was formed. The CIA was formed by Harry Truman,
Okay.
Before that, it had a different name. I forget what it was called. But it wasn't like there wasn't one centralized intelligence agency. Before that, it was like scattered departments.
Right.
Like 4 guys over here, 12 people over there, and they kind of merged during World War II, but they weren't called the CIA yet.
What was the name? There's a specific name for what that group is called. Does anybody remember?
I don't.
Damn it.
I know.
We should have a laptop in front of us. We have not learned our lesson on that one yet. Yeah. Next week, maybe,
no,
guys.
you just gotta get the Alexa.
Alexa. Alexa.
Yeah, because they're not listening through that.
Project MK Ultra.
That's the exact reason I got rid of my,
and that's what
Alexa.
I think Alexa will just be like Volkswagen, and I'll just start throwing shopping motherfuckers.
I was watching a special on Philip K. Dick, the science fiction writer.
I love him. He is possibly my favorite science fiction writer turned crazy
fabulous writer, but he was like an actual intensely paranoid person, right?
Yeah.
Very, very much showed through in his writing. But in the documentary, I thought they said something that was really interesting is that the things that Philip K. Dick was worried about when he was writing are the exact same things that people willingly put out there now. So like the thing about constant surveillance. Well, people put every detail of their personal lives out on the internet for anybody to see.
You have to enter. There are certain phones that won't even let you in if you don't put your face into facial recognition software.
Well, and
the police state's fucking real, people.
Well, the Orwellian idea of them looking through the TV screens that are in everybody's home. I mean, it's.
I don't know about you. I have a Band-Aid over the camera on my laptop.
I do. Yeah.
Everybody does.
I sure did.
Did you hear? I don't want to get too blue. Actually, I do because this is my show and I don't give a fuck. Have you heard this big scandal? There is a dildo company out of Belgium that they have, and this is gross to me, but whatever your kink is, I'm not judging. But there's a camera on the tip of it.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
So, I mean, they're going like real.
They're going full on in there.
Yeah. And again, not my kink, but good for you if that's what you're into. But apparently, the cameras on these things are ridiculously, ludicrously easy to hack because the factory setting password on them was like 888888888. And so as long as you can just
left, right.
If you switch one of these things, you could get into one and get it back to its factory spec. Like the password is easily unlockable, and so they're having problems with people streaming these things and it not going where they intended, or maybe they're sending it to one person and somebody else is streaming it for thousands over here. Right. So I don't know why the police state is real. They're putting cameras on the dildos.
On the dildos, yeah.
That just makes sense.
Check your dildos, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm sorry.
I mean, the mental image to just even think of what people would be watching,
that'd be a hell of a terrorist takeover if they just took over our dildos.
I mean, would you even just be what am I looking at?
Could you imagine?
You came in in halfway through that video, you're just probably going are we seeing a colonoscopy or something?
Or say your partner's an Obi or something and you want to send him a special Valentine's video and he's just honey, we need to talk, and you sit him down.
Right.
Oh, fuck.
Wait, how much art, how much is it?
It's about $250. That's what they said in the article. I have not looked. That's not
we don't know if it's on Amazon, but you can check it out.
I'll bet you it is, man. They tried to sell me crack pipes on the
make your own at that point.
Make your own dildos?
Your own camera.
Okay. I wasn't following, but now I am.
If you think about it, a dildo is relatively easy to make. Anyway, none of this is about MK Ultra.
Right.
But Kaczynski was probably right. They're hacking the dildos, folks.
All right, so what's something else recent that you've covered? Or maybe something that you're going to, that you find interesting.
Or that you have the wish to, but have not yet recorded. Could do a teaser for us, Rache.
Well, I really haven't done. I spent so much time on MK Ultra. It's ridiculous.
It gets so deep.
Well, now that we have our own, because we were going through Denton Radio first, and so we kind of had to pick and choose the things we can talk about. But I really want. I'm not trying to dive into the government here. Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
You're listening.
Go ahead, man. Fuck the government. This is Warlord Radio. We don't give a shit.
Do you remember Eliza Lamb? She was, I think, little Asian girl, maybe. At the Cecil Hotel.
That's ringing a bell.
She died in the water tank.
Okay,
a really very heavy water tank.
I don't know any specifics of that, but I remember the story.
Yeah,
What happened?
There's a lot of videos that were released of her like in the elevator, and she's like she's terrified. She's looking in and out.
She's young too.
She's like probably my age. She's probably like 24 because she's a college student. Well, so first of all, the water tank is like a ton, man. Like to lift that lid off and get in, because she was found in there naked. And she was in there for a few days. So for her to even, like, because they kind of try to blame it on her to be, like, depressed and taking a lot of medicine. But it's like I would not. It would take a lot of us, a lot of people to lift that thing off.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you this. I work construction, and if it says industrial before it, nothing on it weighs less than 92 pounds.
Exactly. She had to be, like, a super mutant to do that. But anyway, so if you Google this, like, it's interesting because if you Google Eliza Lamb, this part of it doesn't come up for like pages. Like you have to go beyond. So they're at the same time, they did tuberculosis testing.
Okay.
And the name of that was Lamb, like Lam, Eliza, and I think it was Eliza, all capitals.
Right.
That's her whole name, Eliza Lamb, Elizalam. Well, at that same time, that was when there was a lot of people on Skid Row that were like going like batshit crazy, running around, foaming from the mouth. People thought they were.
Wasn't that, or at least the reports was that it involved K2, the synthetic marijuana?
That's exactly what they blamed it on, K2.
For real?
They blamed it on K2.
I don't recommend that, guys.
She was part of the test. Like she was actually in. That was something she had signed up for, and I think that my personal opinion, and based other like-minded people, she was part of it. That medicine made her go crazy. Now, it's probably
the tuberculosis medicine.
Yeah, it's because they're testing it out to see. It's not like above ground. Like this is totally underground. No one.
Yeah, which I also believe is absolutely. I absolutely believe that there are drugs tested on human beings that are just very.
I mean, they offer it
off
in
the
such a
record
keen way, and they're like, "Oh, you want to make?"
I want to know where to get them. Like you're saying,
I know.
Eliza Lamb signed up for this drug experiment. Fucking Kaczynski, they gave him military. I'm like, how do I find these government? And I'm just like, I'm Carrick, and I showed up to party.
Right. Where's your military grade weed?
Yeah, I don't even want to know what it is you're giving me. Just give it to me and put a movie on. So they're blaming this like essentially rabid lower income community members, and they're blaming it all on this synthetic shit weed, which I don't know. Again, folks, if you've tried this shit,
it's intense.
At first it feels like weed.
It does, and then
it hits you like crank.
Yeah.
And your fucking heart starts beating like crazy, and your mind starts going a million miles an hour, and you're like, nothing about this is pleasant.
I've never smoked it, but I've read that there have actually been a few outbreaks. A notable recent one this last summer in New York City, where it was the same thing, where they say that it was a particular batch, because apparently. Is what they're doing is the people that are selling this is the different strains will become illegal when the cops crack down on it. All you got to do is change like just a few things in the recipe, and all of a sudden it's something different that can slip through the cracks, and they can sell it at like head shops and stuff like that until they get caught up. Well.
Head shops sell weird fake drugs all the time.
Right, and it's not regulated at all, so no one actually really knows what's going into this.
No, it's like the quality of trucker speed.
Right. So, like, apparently, like, there'll be times where, like, the new batch will just be batshit strong.
Yep.
And just totally, like, nuke people's minds.
They didn't test it on anybody. They were just like, put it in a package with an Angry Bird on it.
Yeah, they did have the ridiculous packages.
That was the one thing I noticed. I remember looking at this package, and it was like foil gold, and it had like an Angry Birds character on it, and it was called Angry Bird K2, and I was like, how is this not marketed directly at children?
Yeah.
Or how can they even do that? Like, I feel like
Because they're not
Birds
regulated
would
at all.
not at all approve of that.
Right?
I don't know, man.
I just think they're like little fly-by-night
I think
organizations.
that K2 is actually the tuberculosis medicine.
Probably.
And the developers of Angry Birds are probably in on the conspiracy.
Let
But
it go.
we don't know how deep it goes.
Right?
But so how does tuberculosis medication end up with a young woman in a water tank?
So basically, we're in a day, especially at that point, social media, it wasn't like it is now, but the internet was there.
It was starting to pick up a lot,
stuff
yeah.
on the internet. And the purpose that, a lot of people believe is that so when people start Googling and looking into this, because I kid you not, like it takes 10, 20 pages before you get to even see any information, because a lot of documents are out there, but they make it so it's not, because you can pay to keep your, you can pay for anything basically if you want to keep your business or your article or something out of the top searches, so that way people don't see it right away. And
there
so
are people that are
but when
paid
you
to
do, so
suppress
for
that,
like 10, 15 pages, it's just about her and trying to and it's all like, what's wrong with her? Like, it's all about like this part. Like, it's just like,
It's all like a very biased
it's
perspective.
so pushy on like, something's wrong with her, because, every time something bad happens, something's gotta be wrong. And it just didn't add up. It does not add up. So it is
weird that like a 24-year-old woman would lift something that...
Yeah!
Because I'm not talking... I've seen the
maybe...
cap... I don't know exactly what she was in, but I've seen the cap of like an industrial water tank for a hotel. And I mean, it takes 2 or 3 guys just to unscrew it.
It's the Cecil Hotel. That's a huge hotel.
Yeah.
There's no way their water tanks are tiny. So
how do you think she ended up in the water tank?
Well, I'm not against the idea that maybe her medicine did make her super strong.
There are instances.
I don't know, but I just know how the body works, and every day-to-day chemicals that we ingest and breathe in, it does change our chemical make a little bit.
It can also, there are drugs that can change your pain and damage threshold, essentially.
I would not be
it's one of the things about PCP, like if you can get shot 3 or 4 times if you're on enough PCP and keep going.
I think that's
because your brain does not register that you're leaking blood like it normally would, you know what I'm saying? So all of the normal receptors that your brain would throw out saying you're fucked up, you're injured, are not there, and that's why these guys could do things like punch through cop cars, because it doesn't matter that all their knuckles are broken, they don't fucking feel it.
Well, that's what they told Michael Biehn in the Terminator when they got him. They're
right.
Like, oh, he's on PCP when he's talking about the guy punching through the windshield.
Yeah, they said he was on PCP. That's exactly how that works.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying there are documents of like just people like when they were doing the cocaine wars.
Oh yeah.
And the narcos and shit.
Yeah.
And those guys, I mean, fuck, they've been up for days on much cocaine.
And it makes you angrier, and what gears strength? Well, not anger per se, but if you are
what it can do is tap in, and it can give you an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
An adrenaline rush and the ability to not feel... Because, I mean, you could probably lift something real heavy if, and your muscle sinews are snapping and shit, and you can't fucking feel it. I mean, for a while at least, but I don't know. That is a very strange case. And it is weird that you have to dig so deep into the actual incident and not like, oh, this lady's just crazy.
No, I know.
Are there any conspiracies that you've looked into or are interested in that you, like, at the end you're just like, nah, that's not really a conspiracy? You know, what do you think of someone like Alex Jones that sees everything as a conspiracy, right? Is like, are there times where your skeptical side just kicks in and you're like, yeah, that's just a little bit too far right there?
I mean, yeah, I guess so. I mean, I just like to research, so I'll definitely dive into something. Normally, it's not that I find something that I don't believe in. It's more so that I find something that I'm just like, I see it at a different perspective. So it'd be like, for instance, because I really like true crime too and stuff like that. So so I'll be listening to a case or something, and people are saying like, oh, he did it, and I'm like, well, I don't think he did. Doesn't add up. So it's more, I don't really, I mean, the one time I looked up the flying spaghetti monster, that one's still a little weird for me, because it's like, That makes no sense. And there's really nothing about it. It's like a
That's kind of the whole point.
But
of
I think
conspiracy.
But wasn't that one particular just atheists came up with something
It was
mock to
man-made.
worship,
Yeah.
just because they wanted to come up with something silly so they could claim some like a religious.
It was
extension.
basically just a bunch of nerds
It's like
being
trolls, right?
assholes.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean, something
exactly,
like that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, I have a hard time with Hollow Earth. I don't know why. It's just every time I hear shit about Hollow Earth, I'm just
What's that mean?
About the fact that there's, like, essentially... What is it? There's, like, a giant fucking hole in the Arctic or something like that?
Well, just that there's, like, at least to my understanding, I'm certainly not an expert on it, but I'm with Carrick. But my understanding is that there are large sections of, like, literally, like under the crust that we live on,
continental size,
that there's enormous
caverns.
terrains of caverns that lead deep into the earth, and that there's entire ecosystems in there of like creatures or even like primitive humans.
There's suspected that there is a tribe of humanoid creatures that live in the caverns that were, I cannot fucking remember what they're called, but they were essentially the humans that failed to get on the boat with Noah, and then they got lost and just decided to live in these caverns that they found deep beneath the crust of the earth. But I mean, this is one of those, I'm surprised you don't know much about that.
Absolutely. This will probably be the next festival.
Hollow Earth, like, it goes deep, and there are stories of, like, we fought the Nazis there and lost at one point, and but until they figured out what the Bermuda Triangle actually was, it was involved in that. There's theories where that's where the Atlanteans and Lemurians and those guys, like, it's like a giant refuge for them. Like, there's just tons of theories. But I just have a really hard time thinking that our fucking planet is like a plastic Easter egg.
With the surprise inside.
But reality's perception. I could be totally wrong. Like,
That's exactly
all
it.
of a sudden, 200-year-old robot Hitler could come out of the North Pole tomorrow and be like, "Why is it so fucking hot up here?" I don't know. So, but I mean, that's one of those ones that doesn't resonate with me. But what's a conspiracy that does resonate with you? What's one that you've researched and you're like, "Holy fuck, that's too bonkers to not have happened"?
I wish I can remember.
Because I've got mine and it's bad and I don't want to get into it, but it's the Roosevelt cover up.
Oh no, yeah.
If you don't know what the Roosevelt cover up is,
Are you related to your
Google that
father?
shit.
Yeah, you must be. That's one of our upcoming factoids.
Throw it out there.
The
Let's dig
Roosevelt
in.
cover up is fucked. Do you know much about it or anything or?
I just found out that Roosevelt had a brother. Like,
Oh
isn't that
no!
crazy?
This is something completely different.
Okay.
But that's another one that's wild. No, the Roosevelt cover up was about, it's like the Roosevelt Savings and Loan in Indiana was run by this guy named Lawrence King, and he was essentially running a giant pedophile and sex trafficking ring for the CIA. And I don't, like, dude, the shit that there were a bunch of witnesses called, like 75 witnesses called to a grand jury at one point over this, and the first two witnesses died under mysterious circumstances. The second two witnesses were imprisoned for perjury, which is like, does not actually happen that often. Were in prison. One of them got 4 years, the other got 5 years in prison, and that deterred the rest of them from speaking anything out. But it was basically about, like, all of these kids that they found in this, like, CIA compound exposed this massive, like, sex trafficking ring where a lot of really high up governmental officials and things like that were seen with these kids. And, like, they had pictures and shit, and, like, and it was, like, it's real deep. You got to check it out. But, I mean...
So why is it called the Roosevelt cover-up?
Because it was the Roosevelt Savings and Loan is what they were laundering all the money through.
Okay, I got you. I thought it was, like, specifically, like, Franklin Roosevelt.
No, not Franklin Roosevelt. But it was like, I want to say this was, like, 80s.
Oh, okay.
And it stretched, beyond that. But they're talking about, like, these crazy pedophile parties at the Bohemian Grove. And like it just, well, the problem is the whole time I'm listening to this, I'm just like, could my government do this? Yeah, absolutely. My government could absolutely do this. And I started to think about like there are certain cultures where like diddling kids is like what you do before a business meeting and stuff, and we have to cater to those. And I was just like, all this shit came into my head at one time, and I was like, I can't think about this anymore.
You have to stop
it's too fucking real.
Yeah.
So yeah, buckle up, because the Roosevelt cover-up is fucking brutal. And the accounts from the two people that did manage to speak are fucked. Like, and in my opinion, like, way too fucked to just be thought up randomly. Like, this isn't the dark imagination of a twisted soul. This is like, it's fucked, man.
Well, you know what's real dark, and it actually ties in a little bit with MK Ultra, but the history of the Kennedys is so fucking dark, it's ridiculous.
Oh, I know.
But like everything from like Papa Joe, and then the election of Kennedy under mysterious circumstances, and then what happened with him and his brother. But it was their sister Rosemary Kennedy.
That was the one who was committed, correct?
Yeah. So Rosemary Kennedy, by modern standards, apparently, I mean, it's kind of hard to say because it's, like kind of hearsay and stuff like that.
Yeah, back then they were like, a mouthy woman, lock her up.
But no, that's essentially it. She had, like, she most definitely had some type of depression,
right,
where she would go through moods and stuff like that. But she would alternate where she'd have periods where she'd be quite normal and happy and stuff like that, but then she'd get depressive.
Almost like one pole was controlled by the depression and the other pole was controlled by a normal influx of brain chemicals, and there was almost was two of them.
But here's where it gets real dark for her. So it's like, at the time they don't have like nearly the resources to tackle that kind of thing.
Right.
Nor to even diagnose it.
No.
So we truly don't know. It doesn't seem like she was like manic or bipolar. It just seemed like she had some kind of depression that you could probably pretty easily treat nowadays. But
we were only 60 years out from like sanitarium cages on people's heads so they don't chew off their fucking fingernails and shit.
So they have the family doctor take a look at her. And the family doctor takes a look at her, and they commit her to an asylum. And from there, she goes down so far that they actually perform a lobotomy on her against her wishes, and basically turn her into a vegetable, where she was like very monotone and placid for the rest of her life. And then I forget exactly how she died, but she had a pretty short life. Yeah. Well, it turns out that the family doctor that saw her and diagnosed her in the first place was one of the main doctors that was involved in MK Ultra.
Oh, shit.
So
it's so weird when you get to that level of power. You know what I mean?
Probably knew something that they didn't.
Well, even if she didn't, it's like we know for a fact that this doctor was one of the doctors that was giving people psychedelics without them knowing. So we know that she went from a quasi-normal state.
Oh shit, I didn't even think about that angle. They could have just been dosing her with fucking acid the whole time. Nobody knew what acid was, because they were talking like late 50s.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody was like, that wasn't a real thing. Like some of the beatniks, it was just starting to make its way through.
It was first coming around. Like it was.
Some of
the first people that got a hold of it.
So, you think about it though, it's like the elder members of her family knew who this guy was, and then put their daughter in his care, and then it eventually led to her being a vegetable.
Rosemary's got a lip on her. You should make her trip balls till she goes fucking crazy.
Right?
Oh, God, that's terrible.
I'll say it again. I think she probably knew something. I mean, people can be terrible. People are terrible. They would go to extreme measures. It doesn't bother them to.
Especially when
Which is why they probably went that route, because they didn't really kill her. They just
scrambled her brain.
Yeah, but, exactly. They got all the information.
I mean, that could have just been a test. Can we do this to somebody?
Yeah. It could. What I mean? They might not have even known. That could have been just something.
Because it was just. I don't think we could talk. In fact, I think we have talked a little bit about the JFK. In fact, we did with Dad.
Yeah, we did. So I want to get your hot take on that too.
I don't know a ton about the JFK assassination.
See,
but
that's the thing. I don't need the stuff that I've learned because I know more now, but there's just not a lot of information that I even know. I mean, I'm young, I get that, but that's the thing. School doesn't really it's literally JFK shot in the head.
Totally
even
have
go
to do
during
your
the
own
museum
research.
up there. It doesn't really there's not a lot of information.
There's a dude at a table out there you should talk to. That's legit.
Yeah, what's crazy about the museum, the 6-story museum there at Dealey Plaza, is they have plexiglassed off the actual window.
Yeah,
you can't go up to where for a reason.
So that you can't sit there and be like, because a hunter could tell you the fucking trajectory of a bullet.
Yeah.
And there's hunters in Texas.
Absolutely.
I do subscribe to the multiple gunman theory for sure.
If it wasn't, and it was just whatever it said, it would be accessible. They would fix it, and it would be just a normal window.
Right.
They wouldn't block that off.
There wouldn't be so much need for secrecy in the first place, because I mean, there's all this bullshit about they took his brain to a different location than his body.
They did,
and I know, and so they have that on record. There's just the Kennedy conspiracy goes so fucking deep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, that's what I was saying. Just that family, it is such a dark story.
Give us a for instance, because I don't know a whole lot. I mean, I know obviously that Bobby was killed as well.
Yeah.
I knew about Rosemary, but I don't know about I don't have a whole lot of background on the Kennedys in general, because what kind of shit were they involved in? I know they pissed off the mafia and the government and the feds.
Well,
they fucking made everybody mad.
Right. So the reason that they pissed off everybody goes back to the patriarch of the family, what they call Papa Joe, or Joseph Kennedy. And he made his money during Prohibition. He was in bed hardcore with the mob, and he was running alcohol.
That is also how Coleman survived Prohibition.
And he made a fuck ton of money. He also made it on the stock market. And so they amassed an enormous family fortune under dubious conditions.
But we're talking Rockefeller money.
Yeah. Not even a couple of million, but you're exactly right. It's world-changing amounts of money.
Of wealth.
Yes. And he was obsessed with the idea of getting into politics. And he knew that he was too old and that he had too many connections, but he had high aspirations for his 2 sons. So you had John and Bobby, and John was the older brother, Bobby's the younger brother.
John was also arguably the smoother brother.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Well, he was had the beautiful wife, a handsome guy.
I've got a great haircut.
Youngest president ever at the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, his dad very much was steering the family into politics, into legitimate power, from underworld power into legitimate power. So JFK got elected under dubious circumstances because he lost the popular vote, but at the midnight hour, he suddenly won Illinois, which had voted against him.
So fucking familiar.
I know, right? It's crazy how history repeats itself. And there's, of course, rumblings that Joe turned to his mob friends to get the Electoral College to vote in Illinois. Okay. That they would fix it.
Almost like a collusion of some sort?
Yes, I know, it's crazy. So he gets into the White House, and he brings along Bobby, the younger brother, with him. Bobby, his younger brother, is involved with the law. At one point, he's a DA. And then when he gets into the White House, he makes it his express purpose is that he goes after the mob. He takes down a bunch of big mob bosses. He routs out a lot of corrupt police. Mm-hmm. But he is going against everything that got JFK in office in the first place.
Oh, goodness.
So the whole thing of what they would argue is the backdrop to JFK getting assassinated is what they call the Bay of Pigs.
Yes.
The Bay of Pigs was this staged invasion of Cuba that had been given the green light by President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was right before JFK. JFK, being younger, comes into office, and he was basically told by all of his chiefs of staff, is like, don't worry about it. We got this covered. No big deal.
Because the mob was setting Cuba up to be like the next vacation mecca.
And so JFK was like, all right, but I'm not going to go to war over this. So I'm not sending in troops to whatever happens.
Right.
And the guys that are in power are like, yeah, we got it. But they thought that they could back him into a corner where he would have to call in the military because they wanted it to go to the part of a military intervention. Right? So it goes down, it goes south. He, true to his word, does not call in the military. Well, he pissed off everybody in the intelligence agency.
No.
So you have everybody in the intelligence agency pissed at JFK. You have everybody in the mob pissed at his brother. And you've got all of them combined pissed at the father. So the background to JFK assassination, there's different points of view. Me personally, I think it leans heavily on Allen Dulles, who was the chief of the CIA, and who JFK
back into MK Ultra,
who JFK personally fired because he was in charge of the Bay of Pigs, and yet right after JFK was assassinated, Allen Dulles comes back and becomes head of CIA again, even though he was fired.
Shifty as fuck.
So there was some kind of evil combination of the mafia and the government working together in some way.
Of course. To
take out the president.
Yeah.
So then they take out JFK. LBJ suddenly goes from kind of a Texas Democrat, which at the time would be like a modern day Republican, to he suddenly takes a hard turn left into like with the Great Society, right? Which is a super liberal platform. We also like immediately doubled down in Vietnam because JFK was pulling people out, and like literally like the next day is we send in a fuck ton of troops. It's like literally like overnight. So then when
almost
he gets,
as if they knew he was going to die.
Right. So then Bobby is in the wings, and Bobby is going through and he's building up his own reputation and becomes governor in California. And then he goes on the campaign trail. And then right as he is getting record numbers of people that are going to, vote for him and that he's seen as a front runner in the upcoming presidential election, he is killed under mysterious circumstances in a hotel where he's being, he's like going from a walk where he's talking to a bunch of press and they lead him through the kitchen. He's got his armed guards.
There's that,
so this guy walks up, guy named Sirhan, which is, I believe, an Arab refugee. And he takes the blame because he walks up in fires, basically, and they say that. But mysteriously, he has bullet holes in the back of his head where his Secret Service was.
You see this all the time. Sirhan is just a really good shot.
Yeah.
He just ricocheted the bullets off the back wall like a comic book movie.
Yeah.
Jesus, like seriously though, like the death wounds are in the back of his head. And he's like, no, this guy that shot him in the that's totally who did it.
Yes.
Send more people to fucking Nam.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. So okay, Papa Joe pisses off the wrong people, makes way too much fucking money.
Yeah.
They assassinate his son that makes it all the way to the ranks of president. He's got another one coming up, Plan B coming in hot, 2 in the back of the head, and just for good measure, we're gonna scramble Rosemary's brains.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And then that doesn't even get into like the later like grandkids and stuff like that. Like the grandkid that mysteriously crashed his plane into the ocean while he's flying out to Cape Cod.
Yeah.
And then the Ted Kennedy who killed a woman while driving, put her in the trunk, and then got off scot-free somehow.
Now you gotta shoot him into space like Elon Musk.
Yeah, so, I mean, like I said, certainly, like, powerful families, it's like, yeah, they're definitely involved in more than the average family, and it's like weird, crazy shit. But they take the cake, like, beyond everybody. Like, they're involved with so many weird conspiracies, so many unexplained deaths and assassinations and stuff like that. Like, they just take the cake out of everybody.
That is a weird thing about conspiracy theories. Have you ever noticed that the deeper that you get into one, it either degrades into a Kennedy thing or like an anti-Zionist thing, or it's like you can go too far down the conspiracy rabbit hole. Is what I'm saying.
Well, that's what I was curious. I was like, at what point? Because like obviously, like there are some things that we know for a fact are true conspiracies. Like we know for a fact that like
Operation Paperclip.
That they stole Nazi scientists and started NASA with them. Mm-hmm. We know that the Gulf of Tonkin that started Vietnam was faked. Mm-hmm. So we know that was a false flag operation. We know Operation Northwoods, that there was a plan out there to shoot down U.S. airliners with our military, but then blame it on the Cubans so that we can invade Cuba and drive them and make sure that there's no Russian influence.
There was, what were they called, the Edgewood Group, where they tested a ton of fucking chemical weapons on American troops.
Yeah, well, the Tuskegee Airmen, MK Ultra, like we know, 100% documented. We know these are true, right?
Yeah.
So, like that paints just such a crazy picture, because at that point you're kind of like, all right, now what do you believe? But then at the other end of the spectrum is we actually have people arguing about flat Earth, and it's just like, you do have to have some kind of critical dividing line.
That's another conspiracy, and I mean, if we have any listeners that are flat earthers, sorry to lose you. I don't fucking think, I don't get it. It doesn't matter. No, planets are, they're round, man. They're fucking round.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, it's
taking a hard line on that.
Like I understand being skeptical, but you do have to own up when there's hard evidence in front of you.
Yes.
I mean, that's the thing, is that like if there's evidence, like we have fucking a bajillion satellites orbiting the Earth, and they'll say, "Oh, no, we don't." You can use a telescope and look at them.
Yes.
I know.
And they're like,
actually,
but like that level of paranoia will just refuse to accept evidence, and that I think is hard, because if you were to say 50 years ago that, hey, the government was dosing people with LSD, they'd have been like, you're fucking nuts.
Yep.
But we know it's true.
Yeah, now.
And right now.
Man, I think we broke Craig's brain. You went off. That was a good tangent.
When I think about, just because I'm a massage therapist, I do natural healing, all that stuff. So
I'm into esoteric thinking, do it all.
Yeah. I do a lot, but so I believe that when it comes to conspiracy theories, it should be for everyone. Not like everyone should believe it all. Like, that's not or at least that shouldn't be the gist of it. The gist should be, do your damn research. Like, you don't know, don't sit here and tell me, like, this is it.
Yeah,
like,
you have to go down the rabbit hole.
Let me go find my route. And yeah, we have way more access to information that could be or not be. But the person and how open they are, like how open-minded, like you have that pineal...
The pineal gland, which is what it's your third eye.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a real fucking thing in your head.
Like, we only use not we, because I don't think I'd use that less than my brain. But, on average, you only use about 40% of your brain. You don't really use the full capacity.
Not at one time.
Have you ever seen that Scarlett Johansson movie where she's Lucy? And Yeah. So
there's so many occult references in that movie. It's fucking delicious, man.
I love it. That movie, if you watch it and just think of, that whole time it's the brain, that's exactly it. Like, we're not using all of our brain. And the moment we can open up that part of it, there's no telling what we're capable of. Yeah. We could have superpowers. What's it called when you can read people's mind?
Telepathy.
Telepathy.
We don't know. We just
telekinesis
don't know.
is the communication back and forth.
No, telekinesis is moving shit.
No, that's right. Yeah. Carry.
Kinetic.
Yeah.
Man, I think Jean Grey. I got them different kind of nerd than you guys.
Yeah. Well, you know me. I go back to the horror movies.
You always do.
I would go to the horror movies.
But I mean, okay, so we have legitimate conspiracies. Oh shit. Okay, this is the last question. Then we're gonna take a break so I can put tobacco in my body. We went off there.
Please.
So we have these legitimate conspiracy theories that we know to be true. There's documented evidence of this. There are fucking people running around that are the victims of this shit. So how does somebody coming at you with like a lizard man theory, which always ties into this kind of stuff, like what legitimizes the lizard man theory that ties it to like things like the Illuminati and like the Bilderberg group and like these massive superpowers that inhabit this planet? Like what is it that...
Well, they believe it all comes down because you go into the serpent people, the lizard people. The lizard people goes, deeper into an extraterrestrial being that is serpent-like from Draconius, which is a constellation. Sounds pretty dope. I want to go, but
it's metal as fuck.
I know. I would think it would, and we'd probably watch Harry Potter all the time. But
that's less metal, but I'm still down.
I think metal and Harry Potter can go together. But so like it goes higher or deeper, higher. I don't know. A lot of it basically gears into something that's a powerful being compared to us.
Okay, so like a deity.
So even all of it, like God, I don't know, Buddha, all the other people in the conspiracy theories, you keep going, and it all goes back to aliens, some sort, and people think green men, but it's like, no, it's an alien being.
They're gray men, goddammit.
I know, whatever. That's why, that's just a lot of what it is, and so,
it's not any more ridiculous, in my opinion, to tell me that, like, there might be fucking dragon people all over New Mexico. There's massive underground bases all over fucking New Mexico. We don't know.
We're the only, we're the supreme beings. Because
I don't think that we're the supreme beings. I do think, personally, that
how can we
I think aliens
make it
know
up?
About us and they avoid this
I think
neighborhood.
that goes into all, every single thing you can speak will turn into conspiracy theory. That's just how it is.
That's so very, very true. We could talk in circles all goddamn night. We're going to take a quick break and smoke cigarettes and possibly, I think, we're going to try and get a couple of your segments for this show, if that's okay with you, to play during the break. And then we will be back and we're going to talk about ghosts.
Yeah.
Yes, I like ghosts.
Ghosts.
You're listening to the Warlord Radio Podcast.
And we're rolling. We are back.
We are back.
With Rache.
Welcome.
That's me.
Back to the Warlord Podcast.
Yeah, so it was like, we got deep into conspiracy country in the first part, which is awesome.
We listened.
Yeah.
I was fascinated.
I like it. I like hearing people talk about anything, because I just want to learn a lot. And if I don't know anything, I want to hear more about it. Like, I listened to this guy talk about the Holocaust and stuff about how...
That's a chipper
his
conversation.
Conspiracy theory, and I'm not really big into, believing a certain way. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, this is what I believe. I'm just going to throw back information that I know, but it was still cool. Like, I was like, I don't like what you're saying, but it's cool to know something.
It's hard. That's a hard subject to approach. But now we're going to talk about ghosts.
That I can do.
And you mentioned earlier that you are on the sensitive side, and I was wondering when that kind of first manifested. Like, when did that start? How did you know that this was a part of your life?
Forever, really. Like, I just knew something was off because my problem is, I learned that I have, anxiety. I have especially social anxiety, which is crazy for somebody who's out in the public all the time. But at first, I was just, the older I got, the more I knew, because I was just, hyperactive. I didn't like to be told what something is. I needed to see proof. That was always, I'd always argue with my teachers because they'd tell me something, especially my English teacher would tell me, some sort of thing we're about to talk about. And I'd be like, show me proof. Don't tell me what to believe. Don't tell me... That was always my ways, growing up. I did the whole church thing and not dogging on that, not saying I don't believe, just saying, I didn't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
Which is probably everybody. No one likes to be told what to do. But
issues with hierarchy. We could go into religion. I don't feel like that's a rabbit hole we need to go down on this episode.
No. I'm not. That's the one thing.
That's another episode.
That's the one thing I don't really talk about because I'm like that's irrelevant to me. But I have always been really, really into like natural medicine and
like holistic healing and
and like being able to...
Do you study like shamanistic path stuff or
more like now I am now I'm opening up to that. The reason why I started was because I noticed that I could see certain colors coming off of people. Like it's not like y'all are like bright auras, but like I feel what I see. So so I was like, this is weird. I can tell this person's not, or in my mind I'm thinking this person's not a good person. I'm not going to talk to them. Or okay, this person's nice. I can talk to them. And it was weird because at first I was like, man, I'm so judgmental. Like I'm so picky. Because I don't go and tell people. I just keep it to myself. Like I'm not gonna. But
you got a shitty aura, dude.
Shitty aura.
Fuck you.
Yeah, I should start doing that more often. But
that would make you much more entertaining in public.
Like, I'm not gonna talk to you. You have a bad aura.
There you go.
But I've always been into that. I've always been into a lot. I just have a really open mind to things. I've always been into supernatural and ghosts and weird thinker. I mostly just keep it to myself. I not because I don't want to talk about it. It's more so I don't care. Like if you want to talk about it, like let's do it. But I'm not here to push what I believe on you because I'm just here to grow up and pass on what I know.
I've noticed because I study like occult and magical practices and demonology and stuff like that. And I have noticed that when you talk about that shit with people in regular public, they just think you're fucking insane.
That's exactly it. And it's like, which is so funny because people get so, you're weird for thinking that. And I'm over here like, well, some people are very like intense about it. And like, if you don't believe what they believe, but it's like, you're here mad at me because I believe this. I don't care if you believe this. You're the one that wants me to believe what you want, yet I'm the bad one because I believe in demons and witches and ghosts and all that. I just look
at him like, you are a fucking flesh bag full of water and electricity, and you're judging me?
Right? You're mostly made up of water. What's it to
you? You know, what's weird is that there are people that accept bizarre things as everyday normal, but anything outside of that to them is just weird. So there's a huge chunk of the population that think absolutely nothing of drinking the blood of Christ, eating Christ's flesh.
That's witchcraft, bro.
And
straight up
taking their kids in to do it and no big deal. But bring up something like the occult or ghosts or something like that, they're like, ooh, we don't, what? No, you don't talk about that.
You guys have a big ghost. He's holy and shit.
Yeah.
It's like, you do realize that you're practicing ritualized cannibalism, right? I know it has, like, meaning to you, but that's fucking bizarre.
Right.
But to them, because it's just part of the everyday life, and they see the people that they know at church, it's just like, oh, this is accepted, this is normal. And they don't have the wherewithal to see, like, that it's actually extraordinarily either good or bad, however you want to take it, but they have no place to criticize, like,
I think that's
an
what
alternative
it is. It's not
point
that you're
of view.
right or wrong, it's that you don't have a leg to stand on for judging me.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So, think of like the earliest point in your life where like something weird happened.
Ooh, okay. So, I grew up in Crum.
In Crum?
Crum, Texas.
You grew up in Crum?
I grew up in Crum.
That is a cow turd of a town. A lovely cow turd that I am very affectionate about, but man, it is a cow turd.
Like, it was a good name. Like, maybe it was also the day and age when I was young, when people, we went outside, we played, we were all friends. The whole name, it was a small town, but, so my house we lived in pretty much, we even went back there. Like, we bought another house and rented it out for a while through like most of my like high school year, and then moved back like at the end.
Okay.
But so the house that it was built like it was a normal house, and then they built on this extra room, and then the front room that's in the front has like these doors specifically, it was basically built for kind of like a visitation area.
Okay. Like a parlor.
But it wasn't necessarily just like people come in, they also had bodies. Like that's where it was like there. It has a specific name. I don't remember.
The viewing room or something like that, yeah.
Something like. And so we didn't learn about that until like later on and being in the house. But the first time I noticed something was weird. So my room, and I've shared it with my sister. I probably share it with like everybody. We always share. I always had my brother and my sister. But so my sister had like a bunch of dolls, like porcelain dolls. And,
the creepy ones.
Yeah, the creepy as hell ones. And the shelf that they were on
terrified of porcelain dolls.
Yeah, no, they all right, man. All they were creepy. I even like my daughter got one, and it's still there, but I hide it, and I'm waiting till the moment that she doesn't even talk about it so I can throw it away, because I'm like, that creeps me out. But, so we had these dolls for my sister on the shelf, and they were facing the couch and stuff, which is this way. My room's over here. Well, I'd always hear weird creaks, which at first, it's an old house, wah, wah, wah. But I'd hear weird noises, like, it was creaking like someone's walking.
Okay.
I never saw anything. But when I would get up in the middle of the night or wake up in the morning, like, all the dolls would be turned to my room. Every single one of them. Not like their bodies would be turned, their heads would be turned.
Like they were taking a mugshot or something?
Yeah, and so I was very positive that my brother and my sister were doing this, because they're butt heads.
Right.
As siblings tend to be.
But there was one time that I actually waited for it. And I did not make it, unfortunately, but I did not fall asleep long to where I woke up. It was like a 15, 20 minute time span where I napped. And when I woke up, they were turned. And I was like, there's no way my brother and my sister's here. And I would notice.
Yeah.
And so and things like that throughout that house just were weird. Like things would move and you would hear random noises. There was one point where I went to the back room, which you could tell it was added on because it had a door.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool. But you would just hear these like whistling noises, like someone's like talking to you.
But like under their breath, like
yeah,
almost
so
like
you
they're
could
whispering
never
through
hear
their teeth.
words. But I watched a lot of horror movies, so I was always like, man, okay, I gotta stop scaring myself. But I'm like, come on, like.
I love that you're skeptical of that's what tells me that you're credible. Because you weren't just like, I got ghosts coming out of my fucking ears here.
Right?
The whole time you're like, I'm insane. This is not, what I think is going on can't be what's actually going on.
I know, I was like, I see this in movies all the time. And this is not cool.
Yeah, but in movies they're usually right. It's
I
like
know.
nobody listens to the person that was like, don't get all them dolls.
Right?
Then they always get the dolls and get fucked up by the dolls.
Yep.
Tale as old as time.
I never had a doll after Chucky came out, that's for sure.
That's fair. That is fair. So, throughout your life, have you experienced, like, fairly regular kind of supernatural activity, or just, like, a general, like, you can kind of feel it?
More so, I like to call them premonitions.
Okay.
I can definitely sense presence. Not so much like ghosts or I don't know actually. I just really don't know. It's more so I just know that there's
energy.
an outer force that's like aligned with me and with people. And then again, that's where I see a lot of aura too. Like I can tell if there's a light and a darkness on you. And so I don't know what that is per se. I don't really dive into that. Now I am. Now that I'm figuring out. Well, when I figured out I was an empath, that pretty much opened up the door to be like, oh, I'm actually a normal person. Like, I'm not crazy. But, yeah, like, I just started thinking about it a little more, and I was like, okay, there's something wrong with me, because I get dreams or daydreams of things that actually end up happening. Like, I sense things before they happen. Like, I remember one time, like, I'd woken up and I called my mom because I was like, man, I just have this really, really bad feeling of today. And I was having severe anxiety because that's usually how it would trigger. I'll get like really weird panic attacks. I had onset asthma for a little while, which was very unexplained because I never have asthma and I was always in sports. But
That's wild.
And so, I just remember something was creepy, and I was like, this doesn't feel right, what's going on? And then later that day, my mom called me to tell me that my dad had, like, cut his finger off, like, his thumb off, like, for some, like,
ouch.
Don't worry, Rachel, you know, because everyone knows not to stress me out. But, yeah, I've noticed, like, I just get these little weird things. Sometimes it's enough to where I really see what's going to happen, or I just get things that show me what not to do. Like, the other day, I was driving down the road. It was kind of rainy, and I was behind this black car, and this swarm, I'm not even kidding, it was, I thought the mist was coming. I don't know, like, there were so many blackbirds, so many. Like, I've never seen that much over me on the freeway, and they came and landed all on top of that black car. So I was just like,
whoa.
Getting off the freeway now? And I don't know. I didn't go back. I didn't
no,
check.
but I mean, if you even have an inkling to believe in omens, I think a shitload of blackbirds on one car.
Yes, exactly. Blackbirds are not a good sign. So.
So you're a big horror fan, right?
I love horror movies.
Have you seen Don't Look Now?
Yes.
Yeah. So that to me is like an extraordinary movie about premonition and things like that. You know, it just the idea. It really captures that the off-kilter feel of what you're talking about. So have you seen that?
I have not seen it.
No,
is it
don't.
on Shudder?
I don't know. I don't know. It's from the early 70s, like 72.
I'm pretty sure it's on. No, it might be.
It's got Donald Pleasance and Julie Christie, and the movie starts off and their little child dies. And
as often happens in horror movies. So
a tragic accident where their little child dies, and then it cuts to, I believe it takes place in Vienna, and he's an architect, I think. That part of the plot's a little hazy to me, but anyway, so him and his wife are there in Vienna, and there is a series of killings going around, and while that's happening, Donald Pleasance is seeing what he thinks is his dead kid at different points, like off in the crowd or running away or turning a corner, like just out of sight, just out of reach. And it's wearing the same like little red jacket with the hood up of what the child was wearing when it died.
Oh, wow.
And so, Donald's wife, Julie Christie, is thinking that, or says that she is having like these like premonitions and things like that, and she actually goes to these, I don't know if they're like tarot readers or palmists or whatever, but empaths essentially is like these older sisters, these two older women that have lived there forever, and they go there, but Donald is the opposite. Like, he doesn't believe in any of it. You know, he just kind of is.
He's just like, red hoodies are making a comeback.
He's placating his wife and stuff like that. But, like, spoiler alert. But the whole point of this is that Donald is actually the empath. Is that he is seeing, he at the end of the movie is he follows his kid into a corner, and it turns around, but it's not a kid, it's actually the killer wearing an almost identical jacket, and the killer is a dwarf. So it's about the same size as his kid. So throughout the movie,
tale as old as time,
he's been seeing little flashes of his own coming death.
Shit. Okay. That's pretty crazy. I want to watch this now. What was it called?
Don't Look Now.
Don't Look Now.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever had any crazy? Have you tracked down any serial killers, Rach?
No.
Not yet, anyway.
No. One time I did go to a party, like a little small party, and I didn't know the people. And I walked in. Now, there was good enough reasons to think that whoever owned this apartment was crazy, because he had like photos of like Manson and like Charles Manson and like Ted Bundy and all sorts of different serial killers. Like,
see, and that's because I'm a metalhead and I've got some pretty fucking gnarly imagery hanging in my house.
See,
you know what I mean?
I can get that. But
like, I don't have glorification altars to fuckers like Charles Manson and Ted Bundy and shit. I just don't. I'm sorry.
Like, I have done so much research into these guys and like understand a lot of it. Like, I don't agree with them, I don't believe in them, I don't follow them, but I understand a lot of human nature to understand a lot of what's going on. And I'm like, but I still wouldn't have a picture of Charles Manson and Ted Bundy just hanging out.
Do you
Just a little weird.
fucking remember when Charles Manson died and a bunch of people were on Facebook like, R.I.P. Charles Manson? All day long, I had this one article I kept pulling out about what a piece of shit he was, and I was like, this is who you're R.I.P.ing. This guy was a fucking piece of shit trying to jumpstart a race war.
Right.
It's just like, oh man. Because I follow a lot of true crime, as do you, but I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know. That's a weird thing, because I am a metalhead, and if somebody gave me, like, a really cool-ass, gnarly metal fucking piece with Charles Manson's face on it, I might hang it on my wall.
See, but that's the thing, like, the guy who owned it, or that lived there, he was pretty normal looking, which is fine,
see,
because
that's fucked.
I love metal too, but I mean, I guess I dress a little bit less than most people, or more than most.
You're a metal listener where it's a way of
Yeah,
life for us.
yeah, it's not a way of life. It used to be growing up. It definitely was, but yeah, but it wasn't just that, like, that then, because I'm like, cool, I mean, I researched this stuff.
But that was enough to put you on your
But, like,
guard.
just, like, being around him and, like, hearing him talk, and I was just like, are you all not freaked out right now? Because just the things he would say with a very creepy voice, and, like, try to make jokes out of everything. Like, he was, like, joking about, I don't even know, it was something inappropriate to one of the other guys, and I was just like, y'all think this is funny? Like, and I was just getting really freaked out. And so I was like, I'm gonna go. You know, like, I can't be here. I don't know what's going on. But come to find out, like, he ended up getting arrested. I don't think he actually killed anybody, but he stabbed somebody. And I was just like, no, that one. Like, ugh.
Not me.
Right?
I was like, guys, why don't y'all listen to me more often?
Right?
That's very interesting to me, though, because, I mean, like, I tend to subscribe to, like, this theory where, like, everything vibrates, right? Like,
Yeah,
sound vibrates,
absolutely.
light vibrates,
Absolutely.
like, everything runs off some sort of vibrational pattern, and there are just some people that vibrate at a different, slightly different wavelength and tend to pick some shit up. And it's interesting to me that, yeah, you would have the foresight to know that this dude was probably going to knife somebody, although the writing was literally on the fucking
It
wall.
literally was. Like, it was just like, oh man. And yeah, that's just like one thing that I've taught myself and been more active about is being aware. Like, anywhere and everywhere I go. Like, there's certain situations.
Well, you kind of have to be. I mean, unfortunately,
being a
the way our
female
fucking
in the
culture
music
is,
world, but that's why,
just
like,
being a female in the fucking world. I mean, shit. No, it's
You
brutal.
can't even walk into Kroger these days. It's ridiculous. And people just don't care, whatever you say. But yeah, like, I have to be aware to be prepared because I don't want to be involved. And you don't know what people are capable of or who's in charge or controlling them. And I don't want to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, so.
Well, then it's lucky you have a superpower.
I know. Maybe
The rest of us just die in the bathtub with our kidneys removed.
I am very adamant of, one, like, because I do a lot of learning. That's my thing. Like, my favorite thing to do is just research something, like, whatever it may be. And if I know something, I try to tell people. Like, I'll just be like, hey, I'm just telling you, like, from my knowledge, from my experience. But I will tell people, at least the people that are with me, or as much as I can, like, this is not okay. Like, you can leave, you can stay, whatever. I'm just telling you, like,
I'll be like, I'm out.
be
Yeah.
freaking aware of what you're doing right now.
Well,
where
after
you are.
hearing these stories, I think if I was in a place and you were just like, Carrick, we need to get the fuck out of here, I'd be
know.
like, let's get the fuck out of here then.
Yes. That's a lot of my really close friends, like Sarah, me and her. She's a lot like me. I'm just a little more aware and in tune. But we do that a lot where we're like, and we don't talk. Sometimes we don't even look at, like, move. We'll just look at each other and we'll, like, somehow, like, talk to each other, and we're just like, nope, we'll walk away.
Do you remember that night? I went up to LSA to do, like, an open mic night with you guys or something, and I was outside smoking a cigarette, and this, like, random dude approached me. And you guys came down for a cigarette, and this dude was throwing off, like, real, like, blatantly loud, bad vibes, you know what I mean? And I just remember at some point, you just kind of looked at me, because you knew I was, like, this close from just ripping this guy's teeth out of his fucking head. And I remember he was starting to start the conversation back up again or something, and you were just like, "Hey, Carrick, you said you'd walk us to our car. Let's go." I wonder if you saw my raging red aura and how I was going to fucking pummel this guy.
I could tell, because
it wasn't. I mean, you don't have to be an empath, but
people know so many people. So, and I hang out with so many people, and I'm out there all the time. And then these people know so many people, so it's hard to be aware of which ones people actually know. And so I'm like, do you know him?
No. People just.
But I could tell after a while that you were not comfortable.
No, I was not just uncomfortable. I was mad.
The thing is, you didn't send an aura of like he was. I mean, yeah, I could tell you thought he was probably ridiculous, but you were. I could see like protective mode. Like it really instantly. It was like kind of like a bubble went over us, but
it was just, man,
it wasn't a real bubble.
It was a way that this guy was like conducting himself. First off, like he came up and gave me stories like, I got kicked out of a bar for hitting on a woman, and I was like, you only get kicked out of bars if you pervasively hit on women and don't
if you're
stop.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
If you're
I'm pretty
fucking
sure he was
gross.
so drunk. He was homeless. I see him around there all the time. And
But it was the way that he was like looking at people and shit, and it was just like, I don't know, he had this like predatory look in his eye.
He absolutely
And
did.
I can spot that shit. And it was just like, I remember like standing there and I was like, my fist was clenched and I was white knuckling it. And Rach was like, "Hey, you said you'd walk me to my car." I didn't say that, but she was absolutely right. I was going to anyway.
Yeah.
Like, oh god, that was irritating.
That's the thing, like, especially lately that I've definitely learned is just to be observant. Like, I don't even drink. Like, if I'm going with friends and I know you and I'm like, okay, y'all will be safe. But I don't get water from bars. I don't try to drink. I can't say I won't smoke weed because that's just part of my life. But I try not to be on anything that's going to like really alter my head because I'm like, I have to be aware because you don't know what people are capable of.
I would say though that it seems like you've got a fairly in-tune gut feeling, so you might be able to relax a little bit.
See, that's the thing too, because I do trust myself, and I used to force myself to stay in these positions, and then I just get really uncomfortable, and then I just get these weird emotions. Like, I'm like, I don't know if I want to punch you, but I don't want to be angry, so I'm going to cry, but I don't want to cry, so I'm over here just, like, freaking out.
As an empath with anxiety, I imagine that's very hard to
and then
regulate.
It's so much anxiety, and then I'm like, okay, so now I just own it, and I'm like, I'm going to go home. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, you know, my buddy Zach, have you met Zach?
Yeah, I've met Zach.
And his band, which is no longer around, but they were called Titan Moon. They were kind of like a soft rock band. That's how they described themselves. And they were on a tour, and they were in, I believe, New York City. But their singer, Tyler, he got roofied at a bar that they played at.
I've been roofied. I've been roofied twice.
I feel like I got roofied. I don't know enough.
No, he got like apparently because like Zach was like looking out for him, but he was not a drinker, but he had like a drink, and he got like blackout.
See, that's how mine was. Like it's like one drink should not.
Right.
Yeah, that was my. I had 2 beers. We were at a place in Fort Worth actually. I had 2 beers. And I can't imagine what the end game here was, because like I'm not a piece of ass.
Exactly
like
I mean, you're sexy.
And they do it with people like one of Doggy's bandmate got with her boyfriend like right there. So I'm like, I just don't is it a roulette thing? Like drop it in one of these and see who gets it. Like,
I think it must be like a game almost, because like seriously, I had 2 beers, like I had just gotten there. And both of you have drank with me. I can drink significantly more than 2 beers.
Yeah, 2 beers is like my list.
And I was like falling off the bar stool, tumbling drunk.
Yeah.
To the point where like other people were like, "Are you fucking okay?" And I was like, "I think somebody slipped me something." And then the second time it fucking happened, I was
answer me this: like, how did that play out?
I passed the fuck out in the van and woke up in the front yard the next morning.
Wow.
No fucking memory of anything.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it goes. Like, even when we get blackout drunk, like, there's a lot of times we don't remember it, but you still remember.
You at least, like, wake up feeling like you owe somebody an apology.
You know, but, like, when you just, like, because my friends had told me that I drove all these things that I did, and then they're like, and not only that, you slept for 10 hours. I don't sleep more than like 4 hours at a time, so I'm just like, if I slept for 10 hours, what did you give me? Like, what, how, what? No.
That's not NyQuil lasagna.
I know, like, did you put an IV in me while I was sleeping just to keep me going? Like, I don't get it. Like, and that's a lot of what it, like, I can't recall anything. There's like 15 hours of nothing that I can remember, and I'm like, it's a little weird to me.
Yep.
What was the second time it happened to you?
The second time I was in Dallas at, is it the Angry Dog or some shit?
That's
it was a rooftop bar. We were playing a normal show, of all things, and there were a ton of fucking druggies there.
Right.
And I think somebody was trying to be cool, because this wasn't like a roofie slip something into my drink. What it was is somebody spiked my shit with Molly and didn't tell me. But that also fucking incapacitated me, because as I've mentioned several times, when you don't know that you're ingesting drugs and they start to kick in, you think you're freaking the fuck out.
Right.
And that was an experience where, like, because I never did a ton of Molly, even in like my heaviest partying days, just wasn't really my thing. And so it hit me so fucking hard.
Just out of nowhere, just knocked down your ass.
And I'm just like, who wants to cuddle? Really sweaty. It was bad, man.
That is one you have to be prepared to know you're going into.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
If I had visuals and had to live that out not knowing
that you were on drugs, yeah.
Right. Especially, like,
it's reality
I
shattering.
would probably call my mom and be like, I think you need to hospitalize me or something. Like, I think it hit. I think I finally hit crazy.
Just snapped.
It's like, I can see everybody's aura.
Right.
I do wonder if drugs is a lot of, like, because they do, I mean, if you use drugs for the right reasons, you do open up a lot of what you're not capable of. You get that soul.
You can. There's a reason they call it a trip, though. You cannot fucking just live there.
Right.
And I'm saying, like, as a guy who has experimented heavily with broad psychedelics, like, it's little dabble do you. It's not a headspace you need to be in 100% of the time. It will break your perception.
No, you just need to open it and then try to function with life like that.
Yeah, but I mean, the first time I ever did peyote, I might get somebody in trouble for saying this, but I used to live in Arizona, and I traded a guy on the res for, like, these fucking buttons. Mm-hmm. And I, like, gave him some weed or something, and I asked him, because I had never done it before. I was, like, 19. I didn't give a fuck. I was like, I'll drink acetone. Who cares? But, yeah, he gave me these buttons, and I was just like, how do I do them? And he was like, just kind of, like, they're dried out, crush them up, and just kind of, like, load a bowl and smoke it like you would some weed. Well, my pothead ass crushes up like both fucking buttons and crams it into this fucking party bowl. Yeah, and rip the whole shit. Just start puffing away, dude. And then the next thing I know, it's not the next thing I know. I blasted off into fucking space. I saw like spirit guides and it was nuts, man. It was one of the most intense experiences of my life. And when I came to, it was like a day later, and I was in the desert with my shirt wrapped around my head. I was holding 2-gallon jugs of water. I had the worst sunburn I'd ever had in my fucking life.
Did you like
turn into Jim Morrison in the
I straight up, no, I did. I talked a bunch of friends into going out and camping in the desert, and I went on a fucking walkabout, man.
You just went on went into survival.
So they like... I got out of the van, we were all there, I hung around for a minute, smoked a cigarette, and then just, like, wandered off for 4 hours. Made my way back, thank fucking the universe, because who knows where I could have ended up. I just walked off in a random direction.
That's the thing about our brain, like, you can shut off that receptor that sees what you're doing. So you don't know, you're not aware, but you're still there. Now, I truly believe that we have all the answers out there. Like, we know everything. Like, we physically, anything you could need to know, and what is real and what is not and what's fake and stupid, we know. We just don't know how to access it.
Yes.
We're closed off.
So I
think, like, when we're, like, drugged up, because I always ask myself, like, how am I here? How did I get here? How do I not remember? And I did. Like, why am I not in, like, Mexico now? But I think our brains still know.
They do. I mean, you have defense mechanisms in place and things like that.
Doesn't mean we do it well, but
like,
we know how to get home.
Like I said, I wasn't like... I felt like I was in a dream. It was really... Like, nothing was tangible, I guess. And it literally felt like my spirit was walking next to myself.
You could have been astral
strange.
projecting that whole time.
That's actually something that I looked into. Was when I was doing occult studies, and I mean I'm still doing occult studies, and I studied a little bit about astral projection.
Astral projection.
That is a heavy philosophy, man.
And you can believe what you want to believe, but my first and only time astral projecting was not my plan at all.
That's not good.
I massage, and so I'm at work.
That's really not good.
And no, I'm telling you exactly. This is how weird. So it wasn't the eclipse we had last time where
Are you talking about the Aquarius, the lunar?
Like we had that big one last
Superman.
time where like it's the first time the moon and the sun were aligned. I don't remember all the names of them. It was the most recent one.
That was
the one that only comes around like 7 years. So not that one, but we had one. Not that, but we had something like that prior. Probably it had to be in the last 4 years because it's some point in which I was working at my job. But I was working and it had clicked over to where you could see the eclipse or whatever it was at full force, and I didn't know that because I wasn't paying attention. I'm working, and so I'm just massaging and doing my thing, and all of a sudden I'm like above my body watching myself massage. I'm like, oh man, what's going on? And I'm freaking out, like, what's going on? How do I get back? I daydream a lot through my sessions too, so I'm like, I'm dreaming, but I'm full on seeing myself. I watch my hands, but I've never seen myself. And then I like slammed back into my body and like I like shook, and the client was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yep." Back to it. So I was like, that was so intense to me, and I didn't know anything about astral projection at that point. I wasn't that heavy into it, and I went to talk because I do have a I don't even know what she calls herself. She's like my counselor. She's like, she's not my showman, but she's kind of like that. And I just go to her and I talk to her about things. And I was like, dude, just let me tell you what just happened. What happened? I had an out-of-body experience because I saw myself like completely. Like I actually looked at myself. It was weird. Like I was actually kind of going around my body for a few seconds. I could see everything. And she was like, well, you astral projected. And she was like, at that moment, because one thing we do, a lot of us therapists believe, is like with energy. We all believe in it. So we all block it before we massage, which is basically we just like cut off our wrists and cut our hands to where we can't pick up your energy. So I was like, it was a little weird to me. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go look into this.
Quick aside, have you ever had a customer that you didn't want to massage just because they had complete shit energy?
Yes, and I was right, 100%. I saw him walk in, and he gave me this energy that seemed potential.
Like a threat?
Potential.
Like, just creepy?
Creepy guy. Serial, I wouldn't say killer, but he gave me this vibe.
Gave you the vibe of a killer.
Yeah, he gave me this vibe that, like, before even talking to him, like, just looking at him, I'm like, he is somebody that is has social anxiety, probably doesn't have any friends, probably doesn't have a girlfriend or anything like that, and probably... I was like, he gets massages guaranteed because he likes to be touched. Like, it's okay. And so I was like weirded out, and I started massaging him, and he never went like overboard, but he would just say the creepiest things like, wouldn't it be funny if or if you turned on the news and someone kidnapped a massage therapist and made him give her a massage, or give him a massage all
What
day.
the fuck?
Yeah,
For
just
real?
stuff like, he'd be like, oh, you're my favorite part of the day, like things. And I wasn't scared of him because I thought he was going to do anything in the massage. And he would do things like he'd always move the blanket. He'd almost expose himself. Like when I'd massage his arms, he'd like try to touch my hands and it would creep me out. And he would move a lot. And like, I was like, dude, like, but he would stop when I tell him to stop. And he'd play that off for a little while. But the more I started talking to him, because I'm trying to because like my boss is like, well, until you gotta tell him to stop first, and then, see. And I'm like, well, he stopped, so I gotta continue massaging him, apparently. And that's another day, another topic. But, yeah, so come to back, like, there was, like, the final session before this last one that I did, and he was just so inappropriate. Like, he was, if I can't, because I can't see in the dark, and put my lights low. But I put them up pretty high for him, and I still was like, oh, I would have saw your jumping. I don't want to see it. And he was like moving and like making noise, and like it was like I was like, do that at home, okay? This is my job. And I walked out, and I was like, I don't want him on my table anymore. And of course they were like, well, you gotta say something. So they made me talk to him the next session, and he canceled his membership. And I was like, I sat there with my boss, and I was explaining to her, I was like, whether you believe me or not, but he gives me the vibe that he is the type of person that just because I massage him, he would think I was his girlfriend, and if I turn him down, he would follow me from that. Like, that's how heavy my mind goes.
God damn.
So it's
That's
just...
such a fucking unnerving thought.
Yeah, so
but I found it interesting that you used the word serial in your earlier description of him, because what this seems like to me is this is a dude that, like, has a plan, has probably done this before, and then, like, it escalated over time, you know, and like any serial killing, like, they will eventually hit, you know, their berserker stride, and they just start fucking shit up like a madman.
That's the exact vibe he gave me, and I was like, I'm around people all the time, and there's people that I'm around, and I'm like, I don't like them, but I can generally be around anyone and not really care so much, but I'm like, it was almost to the point where I walked up to my boss and I was like, you know, I love you guys, but if he's on my table again, I will walk out on that spot. Like, I would quit right here and there. And it's not, again, it's not because, like, I don't even care about the pervertedness of him. Like, I don't care. Like, yes, I don't want that. If anyone's listening, I'm a professional.
Right.
But not that kind of professional.
Right, yeah.
I take my job seriously. So, yeah, like, I mean, yeah, that annoyed me. But it was what could be of him. Like,
right.
That was my gist. It's like, I'm freaked out by him.
You were more afraid of the escalation than what already happened.
If he said, hey, wouldn't it be funny if someone kidnapped me? Like,
no, that's not fucking funny.
That one. Like, I was visioning myself like, oh my God.
He wanted you to. That's why he fucking said it. I don't understand, because if that was me, I would have been like, cool, and just drove my elbow straight into his fucking
That's exactly
shoulder.
what I do, is I'm like, more pressure? Okay, shush. Like, don't say things like that.
So back to your out-of-body experience, though. Mm-hmm. You talked to your shaman, or your guide or advisor or whatever.
I talked to her, and she told me just to dive into it, because it's basically when you're at a very heightened level of sense. Like, you are opened up that brain so much that it's capable of doing things like this. And that the reason probably why I had done it was because of the change, like the moon. Because I am a huge fan of the moon. The moon is my thing. Like, I like the sun and I believe in the sun, but the moon is like my charge. Like, I prefer. So I was like, okay, that makes sense, because that clicked at the same time. And I was just, because I am so hyper aware, I was able to fall into that. And so the next time when we had that one, I was like, dude, put me on my break from this time to this time. I cannot be touching anyone. And I did not. I went straight to Sprouts and sat in the parking lot under the tree, because you could see like little moons. It was cool. And I was just like, this is my time to charge. But I was like, I can't touch, because I really think that was.
But you essentially, your theory is that you were hyper adept during this event.
I was very, very aware. And that if you follow the moon and you kind of know anything, that's a lot of how, like, the moon kind of runs different aspects of our life. Like a retrograde is like Mercury retrograde.
I don't find moon charting to be ridiculous at all. Like we said, we're 70% water. Moon affects time. It just, I don't know.
Absolutely. And
people have been worshiping the moon since they came out of the caves. But no, the reason that's interesting to me is because exactly what you described. I've had that happen to me. I've had 2 out-of-body experiences, not counting. I blame the third one's peyote. I was pretty fucked up on drugs.
I mean, you could still technically consider it. I mean,
but I've had 2 stone-cold sober out-of-body experiences, and one of them, man, this is a weird story. Okay. I was working, you know, the truck stop up the road that's like a Love's truck stop?
Yeah.
Okay, I used to work the graveyard shift at that Love's. And when you work graveyard shift at a truck stop, you meet some interesting
I have gone to truck stops in the middle of the night.
Of course you have, you're a musician.
And just to know that you are correct.
Yeah, but I remember specifically, I was just a cashier, and I watched this dude walk in, and I didn't get a real good look at him, but he was just wearing trucker clothes. Like, didn't look like anything. And he went back to the coolers and got something, and I was fucking around with something while he was walking up to the counter, so I didn't see him at first. And then I look up at this guy, and he has tattoos, like homemade shitty prison tattoos of swastikas and crosses and shit all over his fucking face and hands.
Wow.
And you can tell he was wearing long sleeves, but you can tell that they went like all the way up his arms.
Yeah.
And I think this is what I said to prompt maybe the weirdest conversation I've ever had in my life. How are you doing tonight? And this guy proceeded to go off and tell me that the government's chasing him down and he's had all of his money converted into gold. The whole reason he's doing OTR truck driving for a living is so he can bury his gold along his route in places that he knows where it is. And then proceeds to tell me that, like, Satan tried to talk to him, but he got married real quick to cast Satan out because once you're in the covenant of marriage, the devil has no power within that covenant because that's between you and God. And I literally, like, I remember, because my brain is just melting at the fucking shit this guy's saying at me. And keep in mind,
you're staring at the swastikas and the crosses.
The swastikas and crosses tattooed all over this fucking guy's face. And I literally, I find myself, like, behind my shoulder, looking down at this scene on myself like a security camera almost. Like that angle. And I'm looking down, and the only thought in my head is, how the fuck did I, how the fuck did I get locked in a conversation with this guy?
Right. And you're locked. Like, you can't get out at this point.
I could not get out of it. Yeah. And then I think I said something finally to offend him, and he fucking left in a huff because I said something about, like, Hail Satan or some bullshit. Because I'm me.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. And then the other time that I had an out-of-body experience, I used to be the bouncer at JR Pockets.
Yeah? I love that place. Well,
again, I'm sure you see an interesting clientele.
Again, very interesting clientele. When I worked there, that place was a fucking Stray Cats song. It was just, it was
different.
gnarly.
It's a definitely different crowd now.
Yeah, that's good. It was a fucking hellhole full of garbage people when I
it's
worked
still
there.
the same. I mean,
but it was really violent. That was a really violent job. Like I've been a bouncer several times. That was the most active bouncing job I ever had, and I had to deal with. I got stabbed a couple of times at that job.
Now, why do you think that is? Do you think were they like jacked up on speed, or just aggressive drunks, or?
It was a little bit of all of that. What was really, in my mind, the core of this place is at the time the management ran some really underhanded shit. Like, there were late night, high stakes poker games that I had to fucking run security for, and shit like that. And like, just it attracted a certain level of, like, just, you know, hard ass that, you know, they wanted to come in, and my job was to fucking protect the good fucking employees that we had there that weren't shitty.
Right.
Yeah, and so, I mean, there were a few times where I had to get in the middle of stuff, and, like, one time I got cut in the hand with a box cutter, another time I got stabbed in the back with a paring knife, which, that was so sharp I didn't even fucking feel it, if I'm gonna be totally honest. But the night with the box cutter, I squared off with the guy. I got him outside into the parking lot, which really, that's where my jurisdiction ends. Like, you're outside, you stay the fuck outside. What you do out there is your own fucking deal. And normally I didn't dick with the outside, but then these girls came in and they were like, this guy's out there fucking grabbing people and shit like that. And I was like, we called the cops, and then I went out there to fucking go deal with it, which was probably stupid. But as this guy had his back to me, and I was standing right in the middle of the parking lot, and as I was walking up to this guy, I again had that, like, zone back where I could see over my shoulder, and I saw me approaching the guy, and right then he turned around and I stuck my hand up and he slashed me in the hand with the box cutter. It's fucking crazy. I broke that guy's wrist. I have never heard a human man make that sound, and I don't really need to hear it again. It was a fucked up sound. But anyway, that's my story. But yeah, I had two, like, what was weird to me is that you described it in a very similar way that I didn't really think of those as necessarily astral projecting.
Yeah, exactly.
Just that something bonkers was happening to me.
Yeah.
When I came back, I was like, how the heck am I supposed to continue right now. Like, I need to go sit down and think about this right now. Like, what just happened?
Just being an empath and a massage therapist is ballsy on its own.
Have you tried to like consciously like astral project? Because like I guess like some people like say that like you can reach a point like transcendental meditation where you can like consciously induce it in yourself.
Work, like if they're actual studiers or practitioners of the occult, that's like
there's a lot of research into it, and I've done a lot. I know a lot of what I should do, and I practice a lot of it. I just don't let myself get too far deep in. They recommend like to do it 2 or 4 a.m. because that's the quietest time, and you want a clean environment, you want a good environment, you want a safe environment, you want to feel happy in the place that you're in. I have not done it myself all the way. I think what I'm working for is because I want to astral project with someone, because I want somebody else to come back and say, because I've done it once while I was tripping on shrooms, and this was my ex-husband at the time. We had the same trip. The exact same trip.
No, that can happen. I've never had it happen, but I've heard of that happening.
So I don't like know maybe because that.
But where like your waves are, you're completely in sync with another human being. We saw the same thing.
We were in. It was like that '70s show, like the in between segments where they have like all the tie dye and the wavy stuff. Like I literally felt like I was living in that the whole time, and. So yeah, like that is I think what I've gone, because I do have a lot of empath friends. Actually not too many, but I have a few of those, and that's something I've been working on with them. Like it's not something I want to do too quickly without much research, because I do not want to get lost in the astral world.
And here's the deal with the occult is whether you believe in it or not, if you start fucking around with this shit and you don't exactly know what you're doing, you can leave a severe psychological scar on yourself. Whether you're invoking demons or not, you can tell yourself that you are, and that will fuck your brain up.
Absolutely.
It's better you need to have knowledge, it's better to have a safe place, and you need to do the fucking research.
Yes, exactly. Like, just do research. Figure it out.
Or, if you don't do your research, you'll fucking murder somebody because your Ouija board fucking told you to. Like, there are those people out there, too.
Or, like, have you heard the Momo thing going on now?
What is that? Okay, because I just heard about it today.
It's a game. So it's a game. I think people were, like, sharing it on Snapchat, and it's this, like, creepy woman lady that, like, looks like she was in the Beetlejuice, but, like, also The Ring, like they combined it and made her. But so you watch this video. It's a game. So basically, each of the levels, and I'm just going based on what I read. I actually don't. I'm not gonna be dumb enough to download this thing. But like each level, you have to do some form of harm, usually to yourself. And then I guess the final level to win the game is suicide. And they've had a couple of people, that have died, like younger people. Yeah, my mind. When I started hearing about it, I was like, but is it like a supernatural thing where this game just randomly appears and if we watch it, are we gonna die?
Talking people into killing themselves.
Yeah, like The Ring. Like you watch the tape.
Exactly. That's The Ring is exactly where I went. Like, I was like, oh shit! Like,
I wish you hadn't told me about that, because I am wary of but I'm also fucking crazy. And
I'm so into it that I try to find like the Slender Man.
Yeah.
Like, I've tried to find the video. Like, I try to find things. I do like creepypasta a lot. So, and I do Reddit a lot. Because one thing I really enjoy is, like, the glitching and the Matrix, like
or like
alternate
just,
realities and things kind of colliding.
Variations in perceived reality, however you want to be
something to look into is glitching. So, I wanted to figure out how to trigger a glitch, because I've had moments, and a lot of people just say, you're like, man, I'm off today. Why do I keep dropping this? Why am I forgetting? Like, there's moments where I'm like walking from here to there, and I'm like, I don't even remember walking this far, and I was like, okay. And so when I started learning about glitching, I was like, oh, maybe I'm glitching. And usually you kind of glitch when you do something completely off kilter from what you normally do. So if you have a same routine all the time, and then but it's not, you have to like actually make it. Like you don't just like it's just like, it's got to be a really complete different scenario.
So like, say you eat toast every morning for 3 years, and then one day you have like bacon.
Yeah, basically in any way. So I like, because I'd done research onto it, and I was like, okay, how do you glitch? And there's a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of things that go into things, and a lot of words that you just don't know what it means.
A lot of the occult is very thick, and there's something you have to realize about mystics, is that is a very deep level of nerd.
Oh, I know. And it's insane, and it's intense, but it's fun, and like so I dabbled with it a little bit, and I was like, okay, if I can control my glitches, then I can stop them if they happen. And so I kind of triggered it.
That's an interesting theory.
I did it all day. I just kept doing weird things, like, differently. Because, I mean, my routine's pretty normal. Wake up, back to work. Get off of work, come home. Most likely smoke a bowl, and then go practice, go play. So it's like, it's always the same form, the same routine. And so I just did everything different, and I'm complete all day. And so the next day, I started like intermittently glitching, and it was weird. Like there was a moment where I was sitting in my car ready to go to my lunch break, and I knew I finished I remember, cleaning my table and going to the break room, but I don't remember walking to my car and getting in my car. Like I just glitched out. But what I remember in that segment was like I was talking to my boss, but I wasn't. And my boss was also like not there that day. So, it was weird.
So you basically had like this entirely falsified memory.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, what is this?
That's weird. I wonder why your brain would do that. Like, what would make your brain just be like, we need to fill in this space with something?
If that goes into what you believe. For me, I believe in parallel universes.
Okay.
I do believe in alternate spaces, and
Timelines
so I think that was my whole gist of trying to force my glitches. I was like, I want to see what the other Rachel's doing. Can you just come over here and take over for me?
I can't wait to talk to you again in like 3 years when you're like a full-blown psychonaut and you can just like phase through walls and shit.
Right.
It's gonna be great. It's like, this is my friend Rache. She can bend spoons with her mind.
Spoons with my mind.
Well, this has been a long episode, so we're gonna have to call it a night. But
it's flown by.
It really has. We're gonna have to get you out again. I want to talk more about some of this shit.
Let's wrap up though. Like, tell us like some. I know you mentioned earlier, Wild Natives. Like, are there any other musical projects that you're doing right now?
Yeah. So I'm in Bone Doggies Collective. We're the Denton Music Collective.
Right, and I saw you perform at the Day of the Dead Festival.
Yes. We tend to play big shows. I can't tell you dates because I don't know. I just show up when they tell me to. But
same. Right. I'm not even in that band, and same.
I know,
they just tell you.
They just tell you.
Hey, Carrick, you're playing bass on this date. What? Okay.
No, because we either have Matt Hall plays bass.
I told them. I figured out because it's a very bluesy band, a very kind of rocky, bluesy.
Yeah.
Tom Waits, very because it's doggy, but I can't do that and play bass. I mean, I can, but I like the freedom of moving.
Just singing.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't want to play bass.
Yeah.
And I love playing bass. It's my favorite, but I love playing with.
You're a good bass player. You're a damn good bass player.
I'm good. It's been a while. Been playing. So yeah, I do that. Ray Chan's a thing. I write my own stuff. I don't really. The collective is going to be playing my music, so I'm not going to be doing as many shows as Ray Chan. Ray Chan is basically a promoter and advertiser. I'm a person. You hire me for whatever you need, whether it's bass, guitar, piano, ukulele, vocals.
You need some ukulele on the fucking acoustic bass song?
They never know.
That would be awesome.
Right?
I can make anything. I've played in so many different
theremin?
songs.
Do you have a thereron? We could use one of those.
Oh, but I could use one of those.
Actually, we do have a theremin here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
So, where can we find you online?
WildNativesBand.com. Wild Natives at Facebook, Instagram, Wild Natives, YouTube, Wild Natives. The Denton Music Collective does not have it. What I'm just telling people now is find Ray Chan, RACHEANN, and add me, and I share all the crap that I do, because there's so much, and it's just hard to keep up with.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. I just know that my calendar looks like somebody threw up on it.
There you go.
That happens.
Well, you keep them busy. That's great.
It's not always
Gotta
bad.
make that money.
Right.
So my last question, are you going to come out and be in the metal video tomorrow?
I already sent Sarah a text, so I hope she says yes. If she doesn't, I'll come.
Awesome.
Right on. Well, thank you very much. This has been Warlord Radio
Yeah,
podcast.
we greatly appreciate you coming
Thank you
out,
for
and
having
then
me.
hopefully you'd be willing to come out again.
Yeah, I would like to get more into this. Actually,
I like just talking about things. So yeah, okay.
Cool. Well, give us a like and a subscribe if you do that. If you don't, just keep listening. Whatever.
This has been
No,
episode
you should
22.
go like and subscribe.
Right? Share it with a friend and an enemy.